This has got to be the most controversial topic in the bow hunting industry. Fixed blade versus mechanical. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Bow Recruit. Today we are talking about this super controversial topic. If you want to check out the broadheads that we talk about in today's video, there'll be links in the description, as well as my arrow setup and what I use this year to kill my 8-point buck. So fixed versus mechanical. One broadhead is not better than the other necessarily. Fixed isn't necessarily better than mechanical. Mechanical is not necessarily better than the fixed. You can't really choose a winner in this conversation or in this argument because it's so difficult nowadays. There are so many broadheads of every type in the world that it's impossible to choose a winner. I mean, what are you supposed to do with all these broadheads? I mean, you're in the Lancaster Archery catalog, it's just page after page of broadheads and more broadheads, and it just keeps going on and on and on. How are you supposed to choose one? Well, I came up with a pro and con list of a fixed blade broadhead and a mechanical. I'm going to read them off to you, and hopefully that helps you guys, you as the viewer. Hopefully it helps you with your decision and picking one. Fixed blade broadheads, we're going to start right there. This broadhead's been around since the beginning of time. You know, you find arrowheads in the dirt, you know, that's a fixed blade broadhead, and they've proven themselves for thousands of years. The pros of a fixed blade broadhead. Penetration is the big one. You're going to have more penetration normally than a mechanical just because of the smaller cutting diameter. Most fixed blades have a much better bone crushing rate than a mechanical does. You know, all that force, that energy, that concentrated energy, it just punches right through. They're normally more durable because there's no moving parts. Sometimes your fixed blades are going to be cheaper. For example, this broadhead right here is a Muzzy 104 blade. They still make these today and they've made them for a long time. This is a 100 grain broadhead. It's a 1 1/8 inch cut and it's like $30 for 6 of these. Whereas a pack like this is a Rage 2-Blade SS, but this is going to be like $30 for a 3-pack. Now the cons, you got to have a con list because there's always cons. Less cutting diameter. You have a less cutting diameter, you're going to have a smaller wound channel and probably a smaller blood trail. Now, not always. I'm not saying you won't have a smaller blood trail, because if you have a wound channel, if you have a full pass-through, which is very, very feasible with fixed blades, if you have that pass-through, you're going to get a good wound channel because that blood's just pumping out and going right through. The other thing, though, is you're going to have less hemorrhaging just because it's a smaller cut. You're not going to have as much hemorrhaging. So shot placement really counts when shooting these fixed blades. Now, mechanicals. We got pros and cons here too. Pros to mechanical. You're normally going to have a wider cut. A lot of times you'll see mechanicals nowadays with 2-inch cuts, okay? That's pretty big. That's a big wound channel. With that big cut, you're going to have a bigger wound channel. You're going to have a lot more hemorrhaging, all that stuff. Now, the thing about mechanicals is you're going to have less penetration because you have that wider cut and all that energy is being dispersed wider. So instead of being forced through the animal, it's kind of being spread out throughout the animal. So you're going to have less chance of having a pass through. Not saying it's not possible because it is, but you're going to have a less chance of it passing through. Now, even if you don't have a pass through, the blood trails from mechanicals are normally higher. I've seen some insane blood trails with a mechanical broadhead, much better than I have a fixed blade. But the thing I sacrifice is penetration. My buck this year, I got maybe about 8 or 9 inches of penetration. The deer was at 8 yards. Luckily, I went deep enough, got a lung, and just crazy hemorrhaging, big cut. Now, the one thing that I've always loved about mechanicals is they shoot like field tips. So they fly like field tips, which I've always liked because it's a real easy transition from the off season to hunting season. Now, the thing that I know a lot of people worry about with mechanicals is how reliable are they? How reliable is the opening of the broadhead? Is that broadhead going to deploy and open up when it hits the animal or when the shot is fired? And when shooting a fixed blade, you don't have to worry about that because it's fixed, it's always there, it's always open, it's always blades ready, hitting, cutting on contact. Mechanicals don't always deploy. And I shot a broadhead that did that multiple times in one season, and it was a brutal year to hunt. This broadhead right here is the G5T3. The year this broadhead came out, their claim to fame was a thing they called the spider clip. It was a little metal clip that went on the bottom to hold the blades in place. Their claim to fame was the spider clip was super reliable, much more reliable than a rubber O-ring, and it would deploy perfectly almost every time. The other thing, it was like a 1 3/4, 1.5 inch cut. It was 3-blade. I was like, this seems like a good broadhead. First deer I shot, only 1 blade deployed and went right through no man's land. Second deer I shot that fall, deflected off of a branch, hit his butt, never found him. And that's when I said, I'm done with this broadhead. I hung that broadhead up and got the Muzzy out and was able to shoot a nice little 5-point. But it was a tough year, and all because of that mechanical. Now, the last thing about mechanical broadheads, you got less bone crushing power. You got all that energy dispersed, like I said, to get a bigger wound channel, a bigger cut. but you're going to sacrifice penetration and bone crushing ability, which is why this upcoming off season, I'm thinking about switching up my arrow and my broadhead setup. I'm going to switch to a good fixed blade. If you guys know a good fixed blade broadhead that punches through bone, that gets good penetration and is really reliable, let me know. I'd preferably like to get a 125 grain broadhead, just to add a little extra weight and get a little bit better bone crushing ability and penetration. Hopefully this video helped you out. If it was confusing or anything, or if you have any questions, leave a comment down below. These broadheads, I've used these over the past couple years. I've used 3 mechanicals and 1 fixed. They've done the job. The T3, hated it, but the 2 Rage that I've shot have been really good. Just sacrifice a little penetration. I'm just constantly trying to find one that's better than the other. And like from season to season or every other season, I'm finding a new broadhead. So if you guys have any input, like I said, leave a comment down below and I will happily take it. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, give it a like. If you found value in it, give it a like too. If you guys want to check out those broadheads that I used today and my arrow setup, I will put a link in the top of the description so you can check that stuff out if you'd like to purchase it. That's all for today. See you in the next one.